Hey there, everyone. I hope you had and are having a pleasant holiday. I've got some big news. New year, new me. There are some new developments with me and my podcast that I'm excited to share, and I want to give you a chance to get in on. Plus, you can now hear me in more places, like Audible. We've got new content, exclusive access, and did I say merch? Oh yeah, there's merch. Let's get to it. Welcome to Real Talk with Mark West, a podcast about owning your shit and playing through life.
I do what I want. If people would just accept that, we could get along. Come for me if you want to. I ain't scared. Shit, I bike in Chicago. I feel like I'm Neo in the Matrix, but I suck at it. I'm dodging right into the bullets, you know?
I'm your host, Mark West. Alrighty, everyone. Real talk. When I started this podcast, it was a leap of faith, and it was actually a cry for help. I was ready to start a new chapter in my life, and it felt like everyone around me was telling me to aim lower. Want less for myself, because my definition of happiness is unreasonable and unattainable and offends them. And I almost believed them, until I realized these same people are terribly unhappy. So what the fuck do they know? If I get my voice out there, I can help those who are ready to listen and do the work. It wasn't at all easy. Not just having to learn new skills in sound editing, but also experiencing the hurt and betrayal of having to recognize those who aren't ready to watch me grow into who I am and who I want to be. I can't be happy if they aren't. And they actively tried to take this away from me, to stop me. I shared that emotional journey in earlier podcasts because I wanted to introduce a new and radical concept: vulnerability and emotional intelligence. Okay, not new, but today, definitely radical. So as I come out of this emotional valley, I want to share with you my new goals for myself and this podcast and the ways I'd love for you to be involved.
Anything to happen.
Yeah. There's room for people to change. Someone came to me once and said that they were baffled. They were baffled. This was after college. And it was a high school person. They came to me, they were like, "Oh, Mark, you've really changed." And I'm like, "You're supposed to."
Isn't that the point? Yeah,
You're
that's what I was just
supposed to
thinking.
fucking change. What I like most about rivers is you can't step in the same river twice, but we often get the same person each and every time we see them. Our society today is set up only to serve business and industry. Even our education system doesn't teach life skills and instead teaches how to be a good worker. When did being a good worker surpass being a good human? When did unbridled capitalism become unbridled narcissism? I mean, I can answer that part, but that's a story for a different day. I just wanted to say narcissism. Our worldview has been skewed, and we now see people as products and our relationships as transactions. How does this benefit me? How can this help me? It creates a system of you versus me, instead of seeing everyone and everything as an extension of myself. Personal development, spiritual development, character development, whatever you want to call it. It's become not only unpopular, but unheard of. How many times have I heard people say, "I've been this way my whole life"? Well, that's a problem, because life is change. Every cell in your body is replaced every 7 to 10 years. There is nothing about you that is the same as it was the day before, except your mindset. And no one seems to be bothered by that. No one seems to realize it doesn't have to be that way. I'm a very spiritual person, which is to say that I focus on my character development and personal growth first and foremost. I don't invest in anything that detracts or distracts from my wanting to live as the best version of me. That's living my best life. Squeeze an orange and you'll get orange juice. Squeeze a good person and who the hell knows what you'll get. I don't want that to be me. I'm on a quest for freedom, not from you or from suffering, but from me. From my false identities, from my thoughts and feelings, so I can endure physical, mental, and emotional hardship, but myself remains untouched. I will still be me, because who I am doesn't exist in the material. I still have a lot of negative thoughts. I still struggle with heavy bouts of depression. I still battle the voice in my head and the destructive thoughts about myself and my capabilities. But lately the voice in my head has changed. It's quieter. And when it does speak, it's a lot nicer to me and my situation. It now pushes me towards what I want in life instead of keeping me afraid and punishing myself. But what changed? Awareness. I woke up. I realized that the voice in my head was my own, so I can control it. My thoughts are just thoughts, and my feelings are just feelings. They are not me. I can choose not to take my thoughts seriously. I can look at my feelings as a result of my own thoughts, and now find a way to align them with who I am and what I want. Little known fact about Star Trek, for you non-Trekkies, that is, you nerds. Star Trek is just morality plays set in space. Like Aesop's fables, they're space parables meant to teach you a lesson about yourself. It's the idea of seeing life as a giant metaphor, and every experience as a life lesson meant to teach you something about yourself. It preaches objectivity, acceptance of people's differences, and emotional intelligence. So naturally, they always boast diverse casts in race, gender, sexual orientation, and gender expression. It is a dangerous step when we start outsourcing our thoughts and feelings, making other people responsible for how we think and feel about ourselves. We start to let other people define who we are and what will make us happy. We lose the ability to manage ourselves. We become unsettled and shakeable and in constant need of external validation. We even start to knowingly or unknowingly demand it from everyone. Can I tell you a joke? One day there was a lion roaming in the jungle, feeling really good about himself. A little rabbit came by and he caught him, roughed him up and asked, "Who is the king of the jungle?" "You, of course you," said the rabbit. So he let him go. He swaggered around a bit, then he found a fox and caught him. "Who is the king of the jungle?" "Oh, my lord, it's you, nobody else but you." So he swaggered around a bit more and caught a few more animals. Everybody was afraid and told him, "You are the king of the jungle." Now he was in full swagger, feeling really good about himself. He walks into a clearing in the jungle and there he sees an elephant. He stood in front of the elephant and demanded, "Who is the king of the jungle?" The elephant rolled the lion up in his trunk, twirled him over his head, and threw him on the ground. His back broke. The lion looked up and said, "You could have just told me." But the elephant... Oh, shit. But the elephant said, "You see, I had to make my point." We want to be able to think of ourselves as the ruler of our own lives and destiny. But to do that, we first have to talk about the elephant in the room. We gotta recognize and respect it, or else it'll pick us up, twirl us around, and leave us fucked up wondering how we got our back broke. On this show, Real Talk with Mark West, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. The topics that might not be trending, they're definitely not popular, but they're the things we all have to respect and recognize, or else it'll pick us up, twirl us around, and leave us fucked up, wondering what happened to our backbone. In the age of social justice, toxic positivity, and mindlessness, we can't move the needle for anyone because we're too scared that we might be part of the problem or someone might hurt our feelings. So everything we do, no matter the cause, is always motivated out of a selfish desire to relieve our own suffering. You can't convince me that what you believe is important to you if you're not willing to sacrifice your feelings and stand up for what is right. If it's important, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. I was paralyzed by my fear and anxiety the majority of my life. My stutter kept me from wanting to do anything that involved other people. In school, not only would I go last for any presentation, I would hope my teacher forgot I existed and never called on me. And it worked a few times. So how did I end up an actor in Chicago and owner of a food tour company running a podcast? Because underneath all of my fears and anxiety was me, desperately trying to get out and passionate about doing exactly what I'm doing right now. And that involved letting go of my fears and false identities and stepping into myself. No one was making me stutter. No one was making me afraid. It was coming from me, so only I could control it. I developed a stutter when I was 5 years old. In middle school, I started looking for ways to overcome it. I reached out to those who knew. The techniques they taught me to conquer my anxiety and therefore my stutter. Number 1, slow down. Number 2, pay attention. Be mindful. Don't imagine yourself stuttering or remember the times you did stutter. Just speak. Just be. And if you start to stutter, don't beat yourself up. It's just your feelings, emotions at the surface. Do what you know. Stop, breathe, start again. And next thing I know, I'm someone who struggles every day with a stutter. But if I didn't tell anyone, no one would really know because I've mastered it. It doesn't own me. I've made fear and anxiety my bitch. Our thoughts and feelings betray us. They are a product of the very world we're trying to change. So what are you saying, Mark? I'm saying this. You remember my friend Barb from the Give a Fuck store? I called her during an earlier episode of My Circus, My Monkeys. Well, bless her heart, she actually sent me a package that I got this past weekend. I guess it was for the holidays. It was the one single solitary fuck she was able to find in the back storeroom. It's old, maybe even pre-owned, but it's something. Here's the tea. I still don't give a fuck about what you think about me, but I have this single solitary fuck to give about how you think and feel about yourself, because it definitely informs how you respond to and interact with the world. I want us to start having better conversations with ourselves so we can start having better conversations with others. From how does this benefit me to how can I be beneficial? How can I help? How do we do that? Well, it starts with awareness of ourselves and the piece that we contribute to the chaos. Being mindful of the present moment and not reacting to life based off of our memory or imagination, and stumbling upon successes accidentally. That's the objective behind not only this podcast, but the reasons behind why I became an actor and the lens I use to frame my food tours. How does this make us better people? How do we own our shit in a compassionate and non-judgmental way so life stops being a hurdle or an obstacle and becomes a fun game that we don't take too seriously? Because let's be real, none of us are getting out alive. I told you a few weeks ago that I left my job in the film and television industry, and since then have been focusing heavily on my podcast, but also my voice acting career. My work life somehow always managed to turn toxic because, as I mentioned earlier, people never agreed with my aspirations and definitely never took my concerns of mutual respect seriously. I got tired. I am tired. I have too much to offer, and I'm too fucking dope to be constantly enduring the abuse of people who refuse to go to therapy or take accountability for their actions, or lack of. So I spent December working and planning and getting myself ready to put out more content and focus more heavily on what makes me happy. This. As someone who deals in the currency of experiences, there is no greater experience for me than this unique relationship I have with you. On that note, I'm starting a new daily podcast. I want to offer you some helpful ways to log into your day, figure out what's important, and clear your mind a bit before you get swept up into the chaos of life. These short episodes will air Monday through Friday and be available exclusively on my Patreon. I'll drop the link in the description, or you can easily access it through my website. You remember, heymarkwest.com. When you become a member, you will not only have access to these daily podcasts, but have early access to this one, Real Talk with Mark West. You can also watch the live stream of my interviews, get extended versions of episodes, talk with me one-on-one about what you'd like to hear more of, ask me questions about whatever is on your mind, and get a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to record and put together a podcast. All of this is available starting January 1st only on my Patreon. Real Talk with Mark West will still be available for free wherever you stream your podcasts, but for a more immersive and connected experience, you definitely want to be on Patreon. Once you sign up, I'll send you your exclusive link, and you'll not only have access to all this great content, but you'll be sent free merchandise as a thank you for your continued support, helping make this podcast possible and helping me personally as I dive headfirst into my dream. Speaking of, I have some fun and exciting news for you. You will soon be able to hear this smooth, buttery voice in more places. I've been hard at work this month and have a few offers to produce audiobooks that will be available through Audible, Amazon, and iTunes starting in February. To stay up to date on when these projects come out, you have to keep an eye on my website, your one-stop shop for all things Mark West. These are just a few of the things I have in the works right now. There is more that will be coming later. My YouTube channel and fun hosted events here in Chicago, but I'll fill you in on those as the date gets closer. I'm actually going to wrap things up with that. It's the holiday season, and I want you to be able to enjoy this time however you see fit. And I want to also. Plus, I've got a lot of work to do for the new year. I'll be taking a break next week as I get ready, but you can still check back in for some food for thought. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Don't forget, you can talk back to me across my social media. How was your holiday? And how did you do recognizing anxiety and navigating through it? Let me know. You can find those links at heymarkwest.com. And while you're there, check out my Patreon and consider becoming a member. There is a lot more great content there, including the original My Circus, My Monkeys episodes. Your support and involvement means everything to me. I'll be back January 11th, where I want to talk about confirmation bias. What do we do when the infamous algorithm leads everyone to believe they're right? Till then, have a safe New Year.